Hello everyone, welcome to Easy Studies. And today I'll be showing you the proof for the product rule. So we start off by saying that we want to find the derivative of f of x times g of x, which equals to f of x g prime of x plus g of x f prime of x. So this is what we want to prove. So what we say is that the proof is as follows. The derivative of f of x times g of x is equal to, and by the definition derivative, the limit as h approaches 0 of f of x plus h, g of x plus h, minus f of x, g of x, all over h. And this just comes from the definition derivative. So if we had f of x plus h minus f of x all over h, capital F, all we would do is plug in x plus h into the original function, which would be f of x times g of x, and this is how we got that. So we continue by saying that that equals the limit of h approaching 0 of f of x plus h, g of x plus h, minus f of x plus h, g of x, plus f of x plus h, g of x, minus f of x, g of x, all over h. So now you see that this part came out of nowhere. All I did here is there's a simple trick for this question. You subtract f of x plus h, g of x, and then you add f of x plus g of times g of x. Sorry. What this does, the value of this is just 0, so it doesn't change the value. But what that does is it helps us factor out. So what we're going to do next, we're going to say that the limit of h approaching 0, and now we're going to factor out an f of x plus h from this term right here. So f of x plus h, and we get g of x plus h minus g of x. So we factor out from here and from here. Plus, and now we'll factor out g of x from here and from here. So we factor out g of x and we get f of x plus h minus f of x, and this is all over h. So we just added this part, minus f of x plus h times g of x, and subtracted it, and then added, just so we could factor out. What we do next is we say that the limit as h goes to 0, and now I'm just going to do this in one step. I will pull out the f of x plus h and say g of x plus h minus g of x all over h, plus the limit of h approaching 0 of g of x, f of x plus h minus f of x all over h. So all I did here is I pulled this in front of it. All this is saying is that this is getting multiplied by the top, which is the same thing because this is over 1. So it's the same thing as it was above. And I'll just separate it into two limits because I have an addition sign and I can do that. So now by the limit rules, I will say that limit as h approaching 0 of f of x plus h times the limit of h approaching 0 of g of x plus h minus g of x all over h plus the limit as h approaches 0 of g of x times the limit as h approaches 0 of f of x plus h minus f of x all over h. So what I did here is by the limit laws, I just applied the limit here, and then I multiplied, added, and multiplied. This is just by your limit laws. So now the limit of f of x plus h as it goes to 0, the h goes to 0, so this just stays as f of x times, now this by the definition derivative is just g prime of x, as you can see, plus g of x is not affected by h because there's no variable h in there, so it's not dependent on it, so it just stays as g of x times, and now this is the definition derivative for f prime, so f prime of x. So as you can see here, we started with the derivative here, and we wanted to find this right here above. We wanted to say that the derivative of a product is equal to the product rule, and this is what we got at the end. So we've proved the product rule. I hope that helps. If you have any questions at all, make sure you comment. I will be answering every question. Please like, comment, share. And yeah, and if you have any extra questions, just comment and I will answer everyone. Thank you. Have a good day.